I've seen plenty of strange things working late-night food deliveries. Drunks sleeping on sidewalks, raccoons stealing fries, even a guy once tried to pay me with a bag of marbles. But nothing, and I mean nothing, comes close to what happened that night in the subway. It started like any other shift. My backpack was heavy with orders. My phone kept buzzing with new addresses. And the city above me was still humming with neon lights and exhaust fumes. I was just trying to cut through the underground to save time. That's when I noticed it. On the floor between two empty benches sat something glowing. At first glance, it looked like a kid's toy, the kind you'd win at an arcade. Round, bright, pulsing with a soft blue light. But it wasn't plastic. Seemed alive. I should have walked past. I should have minded my business. But something about that glow pulled me closer. The moment I reached down and touched it, the air shifted. The subway lights flickered, and suddenly I wasn't alone. From the shadows stepped a woman unlike anyone I'd ever seen before. Skin shimmering like silver, eyes deeper than night. That was the moment my life changed forever. People think delivering food is boring. A guy on a scooter, rushing through traffic, handing over pizza boxes to half-asleep strangers. But when you're out there long enough, the city starts showing you its secrets. Little cracks in reality that most people ignore. My name's Lucas, and until recently, I thought I knew where my life was headed, nowhere special. Rent was overdue, my bike needed repairs, and I worked just enough to keep myself fed and the lights on. Nothing heroic, nothing tragic. Just ordinary. That night, I had just finished dropping off an order near East 49th and decided to take the subway shortcut to my next stop. The tunnels were almost empty, just the way I liked it, quiet, echoing with the hum of the tracks. The kind of silence that makes you feel like the last person on Earth. That's when I saw it. At first, I thought someone had dropped a gadget. Maybe a kid left behind a toy that lit up when touched. But as I got closer, the glow wasn't just light, it was warm, like it had a heartbeat. I crouched down, reached out, and the instant my fingers brushed against it, everything changed. The air vibrated, like the subway itself had taken a breath. My chest tightened, and for a second, I swore the object was looking back at me. Then, movement. She appeared. Kneeling on the cold floor just a few feet away was a woman who didn't belong in this world. Her skin shimmered with metallic reflections, shifting like liquid chrome. Long silver hair framed her face, glowing faintly as though lit from within. She wasn't wearing clothes like we do. Her entire body was wrapped in a seamless suit that looked grown rather than stitched. And beside her, a child. No, not exactly a child. Smaller, fragile, with translucent skin that pulsed with light from the inside. Its huge eyes locked onto mine, and for a terrifying second, I thought it was reading my thoughts. The woman spoke first, not with words I knew, but with sounds that echoed directly inside my head. Like her voice skipped past my ears and went straight into my mind. "You shouldn't touch that," she said. I froze. My hand was still on the glowing object, which now felt like it was part of me, like it had chosen me. Who are you?" I stammered. She tilted her head, studying me. Her gaze was sharp but not hostile, more like she was weighing a choice. Finally, she answered in a strange, melodic accent. "My name is Isabella. That is not yours. It belongs to my child." The smaller being shuffled closer to her, clinging to her arm. It looked at me, not afraid, not angry, just curious. That was the first time I realized I wasn't dealing with a lost toy. I was holding something alive, something powerful, something that tied me to them in ways I couldn't yet understand. And deep down, even though I didn't know it yet, I'd already stepped into their world. I didn't run. I should have, but I didn't. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was stupidity. Or maybe it was because her eyes didn't carry the coldness I expected from something not human. They were sharp, yes, but they held something else, fear. And for reasons I couldn't explain, I recognized it. "I didn't mean to take it," I said quickly, holding the glowing object out with both hands, like I was returning a wallet I'd found on the street. "Here, it's yours." The woman, Isabella, as she called herself, didn't move at first. She just watched me, her silver hair sliding over her shoulder as she tilted her head. The child clung closer to her side, its eyes wide, unblinking. Finally, she reached out, but not for the object. For me. Her hand hovered just above mine, and when she spoke, the words vibrated through me. It already touched you. That cannot be undone. Her fingers brushed my wrist, and in that instant I felt something spark beneath my skin. Not pain, not heat, more like recognition, as though whatever this glowing thing was had already decided I was part of it. I swallowed hard. What is it? Her gaze flicked to the child, then back to me. She hesitated, like she wasn't sure how much to reveal. It is not a toy, she said softly. It is a fragment of him, a part of his essence. Without it, he cannot live long. The words landed heavy. I glanced at the child, so small, so fragile, its skin glowing faintly like a lantern struggling to stay lit. My gut twisted. You're saying, I'm holding a piece of your kid's life. Isabella nodded once. My instinct screamed to drop it, to get rid of whatever this was before it sank deeper into me. But my fingers wouldn't let go. The object, if I could even call it that, wasn't just sitting in my hands anymore. Pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. This doesn't make sense, I muttered. Why me? Why not just take it back? Her voice lowered, almost a whisper. Because it chose you. Those 3 words did something to me. My chest tightened. My mind scrambled for an explanation. Chosen? By what? For what? I was just a delivery guy with overdue rent and a broken-down bike. I wasn't chosen for anything. I wanted answers, but her expression told me there wouldn't be any simple ones. The subway lights flickered again. A rush of air moved through the tunnel, even though no train was coming. Isabella's head snapped up, her silver hair catching the light. Her whole body stiffened. They are searching, she said quickly. We do not have much time. My pulse spiked. Who's searching? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she rose to her feet in one fluid motion, the child clinging to her hand. Even kneeling, she had carried herself like a queen, but standing, she radiated something else entirely. Presence, authority, a strength I couldn't put into words. Finally, she looked at me. Humans, but not like you. They want what you now carry. If they find us, they will not let you live. The weight of her words pressed down on me harder than the object itself. I glanced at the subway entrance, my instinct screaming to run, to escape whatever this was before it dragged me into something I didn't understand. And yet, I stayed, because for the first time in a long time, my life didn't feel ordinary. We moved, not together at first. Isabella and the child stayed a few paces ahead of me, cautious, as though unsure if they should even trust me. I trailed behind, clutching the glowing fragment against my chest, every step echoing too loudly in the deserted tunnel. Where are we going? I whispered. Isabella didn't turn. Somewhere safe. For now. Her words weren't reassuring. They only confirmed what I already suspected. There was no real safety for them. Not here, not anywhere. The child stumbled, and I instinctively rushed forward to help. But before I could reach him, Isabella scooped him into her arms with a speed that startled me. Her protective instincts were fierce, and for a moment I saw not an alien, not a shimmering figure from another world, but just a mother shielding her child. Something inside me softened. You're running from someone, I said quietly. Or something. She didn't answer right away. When she finally did, her voice cracked slightly, the first sign of vulnerability I'd heard from her. Our world is gone. Burned. We escaped with nothing. Only him. She glanced down at the child, who blinked up at her, his glowing skin flickering faintly like a candle in the wind. A heaviness settled in my chest. I didn't know their story, not the details, but the raw truth in her words was enough. They'd lost everything. I wanted to ask more, but before I could, the faint sound of boots echoed through the tunnels. Heavy. Rhythmic. Getting closer. Isabella's head snapped toward the sound, her eyes narrowing. She grabbed my arm. Quiet. We ducked behind a concrete pillar as shadows stretched across the far end of the platform. Men in dark uniforms swept the tunnel with scanning devices, their equipment glowing with the same eerie blue light as the object in my hands. They weren't police. They weren't military. They were something else. One of them spoke into a comm device. His voice clipped. Mechanical. Energy spike detected. Close. Sweep the sector. My throat went dry. They were hunting her. Hunting the child. And if what Isabella said was true, they were hunting me now too. The object in my hands pulsed harder, as though agitated by their presence. One of the scanners beeped loudly, and the men turned, heading straight in our direction. I looked at Isabella. She looked back at me, and for the first time, I saw desperation in her eyes. "Help me," she whispered. 2 words. That's all it took. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the pull of the object in my hands. Maybe it was the way her voice cracked just enough to remind me she wasn't just some untouchable alien. She was terrified. I nodded. We moved together this time, sprinting down the tunnel as the men shouted and gave chase. The child clung to Isabella. The object burned against my chest, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't running away from trouble. I was running into it. I never thought I'd find myself sprinting through subway tunnels with a glowing alien relic pressed to my chest. But there I was, lungs burning, legs pumping, the sound of boots pounding the concrete behind us. The agents weren't shouting for us to stop. No threats, no warnings. Just silence and relentless pursuit. That silence was worse than sirens. Sirens meant protocol, procedure. These men had no intention of paperwork. We burst out of the tunnel into a service corridor, dimly lit and smelling of rust and old rainwater. Isabella barely looked winded. The child clung to her like he weighed nothing at all, his glowing skin flickering nervously. I was the weak link, gasping, trying to keep up. "Where the hell are we going?" I hissed. "Up," she answered sharply. "Always up. They track us better underground." The boots grew louder. My pulse spiked. She veered left, and I followed, stumbling up a stairwell until we burst into the open night. The city hit me like a tidal wave. Neon signs, honking horns, the endless roar of life that never sleeps. For a heartbeat, I thought maybe we'd lost them. Then I saw the black van parked across the street. Doors opened. Men poured out. Same uniforms. Same silent menace. "They're everywhere," I muttered. Isabella's hand grabbed my wrist. Her grip was firm, grounding. Then we do not stop. We plunged into the chaos of the city, weaving through crowds of late-night wanderers and street vendors. The glowing object in my chest pulsed faster, almost like it sensed the danger, like it wanted to run too. I tried to hand it back again. "Take it. It's not mine. They're after this, not me." She shook her head without breaking stride. "You do not understand. I bonded with you. If I take it, you will die." I nearly tripped. "What?" Her silver eyes cut toward me, deadly serious. "It chose you. That link cannot be broken without ending your life." The words struck harder than the chase. Suddenly, I wasn't just involved. I was tethered. Whatever this thing was, it had locked itself to me, and there was no undoing it. "Great," I panted. "So I'm screwed either way." "No," she said firmly. "So we fight." We ducked into an alley, shadows swallowing us. The city noise dimmed just enough for me to hear my own ragged breathing. Isabella pressed her back to the wall, scanning the street like a soldier trained for this exact scenario. The child nestled into her arms, glowing faintly, eyes fixed on me. I crouched, trying to catch my breath. "Those guys, they're not cops. Who are they?" Her expression hardened. "Hunters. Your world has many names for them. Private armies, corporations, governments. It does not matter. They all want the same thing, what you now carry." I glanced down at the pulsing light under my jacket. "Why? What does it do?" She hesitated. Then, softly, "It remembers." I frowned. "Remembers." She shifted the child against her shoulder, eyes locked on mine. "It is a fragment of our world. A living memory. In him, my son carries what was lost. If they take it, if they use it, they will twist everything we were into a weapon." Her words chilled me. I wasn't holding some shiny alien trinket. I was holding history, culture, a legacy. The child reached a tiny hand toward me, his glowing fingers brushing my arm. Images flashed across my mind. Deserts of glass, skies burning red, towers crumbling into ash. A world dying. His world. I staggered back, clutching my head. What the hell was that? Isabella steadied me. Her voice was gentle now. A memory. He shared it with you. He trusts you. The weight of that trust hit me harder than the visions. I wasn't just some accidental bystander anymore. I'd been pulled into their story, and whether I liked it or not, I had a role to play. But before I could process any of it, headlights flared at the mouth of the alley. The van. They found us, I said. Isabella nodded grimly. Then we run again. We tore through the back streets, dodging piles of trash bags, skidding over puddles. The agents closed in, always silent, always relentless. I couldn't tell how many there were. 10, 20, maybe more. But they moved like a machine, coordinated and merciless. At one point, I slipped on the wet pavement, crashing onto my knees. The object flared in my chest, and suddenly a wave of energy rippled outward. The nearest agent was thrown back, slammed into a wall with a force that cracked brick. I froze, stunned. Isabella yanked me to my feet. It is waking. Control it, or it will consume you. Her words barely registered. I had power? No, it had power, and it had just used me like a conduit. My hands shook. Part of me was terrified. Another part felt alive. For a moment, I caught Isabella watching me with something almost like hope. We finally collapsed into an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Broken windows, rusted beams. The kind of place nobody bothers to search, at least not right away. Isabella set the child down gently, brushing his silver hair back. His glow was dimmer now, weaker. She looked at me, her voice heavy. He is fading. The bond with you slows it, but it is not enough. He needs more. I swallowed. More what? Connection. Strength. Trust. I sat heavily on a crate, running both hands through my sweat-damp hair. My life had spun out of control in less than an hour. Delivery runs, late rent, broken bike. None of it mattered now. I was hiding from hunters with an alien woman and her glowing son, bonded to something I barely understood. And yet, staring at them, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to leave. For once, my life wasn't meaningless. Outside, a helicopter droned faintly in the distance. Searchlights swept across the streets. The agents weren't giving up. Isabella crouched across from me, her gaze steady. You should walk away while you still can. I laughed bitterly. I don't think I can anymore. Not with this thing inside me. Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile, but close. Then perhaps you are stronger than you believe. The child's hand brushed mine again. Another flash of memory surged, this time, not of destruction, but of beauty. Cities made of crystal, oceans glowing beneath twin moons, skies painted in colors Earth had never seen. His home before it burned. Tears stung my eyes. Not my memories, but I felt the loss as though it were mine. I looked at Isabella, voice raw. We'll protect him, whatever it takes. For the first time, her guarded expression softened into gratitude. But even as she nodded, the faint crunch of boots echoed outside the warehouse. The hunters had found us. And this time I wasn't sure running would be enough. The warehouse walls shook as the hunters closed in. The sound of boots grew louder, synchronized, like a drumbeat of inevitability. I pressed my back against the cold concrete, every breath shallow. Isabella crouched beside her child, shielding him with her body. The fragment in my chest pulsed harder, in sync with my racing heartbeat. It wasn't just inside me anymore. It was me. Every throb whispered the same truth. I couldn't walk away from this, even if I wanted to. The door crashed open. Shadows spilled inside, armored figures fanning out with silent precision. Their scanners glowed the same unnatural blue as the fragment. Red dots from their rifles danced across the walls. Give them to us, one of the hunters barked. His voice was mechanical, filtered through a mask. You can walk away alive, human. For a moment, temptation clawed at me. Alive. Safe. Out of this madness. I could let them take her. Take the child. Erase this nightmare from my life. Go back to delivering noodles and pizza boxes, pretending the universe wasn't bigger than my tiny world. But then I looked at Isabella. Her silver eyes burned with defiance, even as she trembled. The child pressed into her side, glowing faintly, weak but alive. And I realized if I abandoned them, I wasn't alive. Not really. I'd just be surviving, same as always, drifting through a meaningless routine. That wasn't enough anymore. I stepped forward. She's not going anywhere, I said. My voice surprised me. Steady, stronger than I felt. The hunter tilted his head. Then you die with them. The rifles raised. The fragment inside me ignited. A wave of energy burst outward, slamming into the hunters like a hurricane. Metal clanged, bodies flew, walls cracked. Light filled the warehouse, brighter than anything I'd ever seen, blinding and pure. For a heartbeat, the world froze. When the light faded, smoke curled through shattered beams. The hunters lay scattered, groaning, their weapons fried. I stared at my hands. They still glowed faintly, crackling with alien energy. My chest heaved, half in terror, half in awe. Isabella rose slowly, her child clutching her leg. Her gaze locked on mine, unreadable. Then she whispered, "It has accepted you. Fully." I swallowed. What does that mean? She stepped closer, her voice low, almost reverent. It means you are no longer only human. You are part of us now. The weight of her words crushed me. I wasn't just helping anymore. I was bound, changed, maybe forever. But before I could answer, the sound of helicopters thundered overhead. Searchlights cut through the broken windows. More hunters. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. We couldn't stay. We fled through the back, sprinting across cracked asphalt. The city skyline blazing with neon and smoke. Sirens wailed in the distance. Spotlights swept the streets. The entire city felt like it was closing in on us. Where are we going? I shouted over the chaos. Underground, Isabella replied. One last time. I laughed bitterly. We just came from underground. Her eyes met mine, steady even in the chaos. It is where the portal lies. That word stopped me cold. Portal. She nodded once. The only way out. For him. She gestured to the child. The ground shook as a blast erupted behind us. Hunters swarmed, relentless. The fragment in my chest pulsed hotter, begging to release another wave. But I clenched my fists, afraid of losing control. We dove into another tunnel, this one ancient and forgotten, the kind of place the city had buried and abandoned decades ago. The air was damp, thick with mildew. And there, at the end of the tunnel, stood a circular structure of alien metal, half buried in concrete. The portal. It hummed faintly, the same blue glow as the fragment. The child's eyes lit up, his tiny hands reaching toward it. Isabella turned to me. For the first time, her steel mask cracked, revealing raw emotion. Fear, hope, love, all tangled together. He must go through, she said. But the portal will not open without you. The fragment is bound to your life force now. Only you can release it. The truth slammed into me. To save the child, I had to give it up. And giving it up might mean giving myself up too. I froze. My mind screamed with conflict. I'd spent my whole life fighting to survive in the most ordinary ways. Scraping together rent, dodging late fees, taking one delivery at a time. And now I had the chance to matter, to save something bigger than myself. But it might cost me everything. The hunter's footsteps thundered closer. Isabella's voice trembled. Lucas, choose. I looked at her, at the child, at the portal glowing with impossible light. My chest ached with the weight of the fragment. And deep down I knew I'd already made my choice the moment I touched it. I placed my hands on the portal. The fragment flared, surging through me like fire and lightning, ripping the breath from my lungs. Pain exploded in every nerve. But beyond the pain was something else. A clarity, a connection. I felt the child's heartbeat, Isabella's fear, even the dying echoes of their lost world. I roared, forcing the energy outward. The portal came alive, blue light spiraling open into infinity. Wind howled, pulling everything toward it. Go! I shouted. Isabella hesitated, eyes locked on mine. What about you? I forced a smile, though every cell in my body felt like it was tearing apart. Just go. She pressed a trembling kiss to my forehead, then carried the child through. The light swallowed them. The instant they vanished, the fragment inside me shattered. A final surge of energy blasted outward, knocking the hunters back like rag dolls. Then silence. I collapsed to my knees, chest hollow, vision dimming. For a terrifying moment, I thought I'd die right there, forgotten in the dark. But instead of darkness, a faint glow remained. Not the fragment me. My veins glowed faintly, my skin humming with leftover energy. It hadn't killed me. It had changed me. Forever. When I staggered out of that tunnel hours later, the city was waking. Dawn painted the skyline gold. To everyone else, it was just another day. Deliveries to make, trains to catch, bills to pay. But for me, everything was different. Somewhere out there, across stars and shattered worlds, Isabella and her child were alive. Safe, because I chose them. And though I didn't know what I'd become, I knew one thing for certain. My ordinary life was gone. The hunters would keep coming. The portal wasn't the end, it was the beginning. And I was ready. The morning after the portal closed, I thought the hardest part was over. I thought I'd fade back into the noise of the city, a delivery guy with a strange dream and sore legs. But the moment I caught my reflection in a shop window, I knew I'd never be ordinary again. My veins glowed faintly under the skin, like blue lightning buried just beneath the surface. My eyes, brown my whole life, now carried a faint silver sheen when the light hit them. I blinked, stepped back, rubbed at them, but it wasn't an illusion. I wasn't me anymore. I tugged my hood up and hurried away from the glass, heart racing. Every passerby felt like a threat now. Any one of them could notice. Anyone could report me. But worse than the stares was the feeling. The fragment was gone, yes, but pieces of it remained, humming inside me. Every sound was sharper, every smell stronger. I could feel the hum of electricity in the wires above, the vibration of engines on the street. The city wasn't just noise anymore. It was alive, a chorus I couldn't turn off. And beneath it all, a constant tug, a thread pulling at my chest. Not here, not now, somewhere else. Isabella. Even across stars, I could feel her. I spent the next 2 days lying low in my apartment, curtains drawn, phone switched off. My delivery app pinged constantly, orders piling up, but I ignored them. Money didn't matter. Not when men in black vans might be circling my block, waiting for me to step outside. The news barely covered the warehouse incident. A gas explosion, they called it. The city swallowed the lie whole. But I knew the truth. The hunters weren't gone. They were regrouping, and sooner or later they'd come for me. Sleep came in fragments, haunted by visions that weren't mine. I dreamed of Isabella's silver eyes, her child's glowing hands reaching toward me, the burning ruins of their home. When I woke, my body shook with leftover energy, my veins glowing brighter in the dark. On the third night, I tested it. I pressed my palms together, focused on the hum under my skin. The air between my hands shimmered, faint light sparking like static. A heartbeat later, a wave of energy pulsed outward, rattling every glass in my kitchen. I stared at my hands, terrified. I wasn't human anymore. I was something else. The knock at my door came just before dawn. 3 sharp raps. Precise. Military. I froze. The thread in my chest burned suddenly. A warning. Without thinking, I grabbed my backpack and bolted out the fire escape. Below, a black van idled. Figures in dark uniforms emerged, scanning devices glowing blue. The hunters. Target located. One barked. I ran. The city was waking, delivery trucks rumbling, shopkeepers rolling up shutters, but all I heard was the pounding of my own feet and the steady rhythm of boots behind me. At the corner, I skidded into an alley, heart slamming. A dead end. The hunters fanned out, rifles raised. "Don't make this harder," the leader said. "You're coming with us." The thread inside me flared hotter, pulsing like a second heartbeat. My fear twisted into something sharper anger. "No," I whispered. Energy burst from me in a wave, faster and stronger than before. The hunters were thrown back, slamming into walls and trash bins. Their scanners shattered. Sparks rained from their rifles. I staggered, breathless. I hadn't meant to do it, hadn't even thought, just reacted. But the power was mine now. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't just running anymore. I could fight back. That night, I returned to the subway tunnels, drawn by the thread in my chest. The portal was gone, collapsed into dust, but the glow of alien metal still lingered faintly on the walls. I knelt, pressing my hand against the cold stone. My veins lit up in response. For a moment, I swore I heard her voice. Lucas, soft, distant, carried through the thread that bound us. My throat tightened. Isabella? No answer. Just silence. But I knew then, she wasn't gone. Not completely. The bond remained. I rose slowly, heart pounding with new resolve. The hunters wanted me. Fine. Let them come. I wasn't just some delivery guy anymore. I was the last echo of their world on Earth. And maybe, just maybe, I could find a way to bring them back. I thought hiding would get easier. That after the warehouse, the portal, the alley fight, maybe I could disappear into the city and learn how to live with whatever I'd become. But I was wrong. The hunters didn't back off, they multiplied. By the end of the week, black vans prowled every block I knew. Cameras on streetlights turned toward me when I passed. My phone buzzed with strange notifications, tracking attempts, numbers I didn't recognize. They weren't just chasing me in the streets. They were crawling into my life, peeling it apart piece by piece. And still, the bond tugged at my chest. Faint but constant. Isabella wasn't gone. Somewhere across the stars, she was fighting to survive, just like me. That thought kept me moving. The first real test of my power came in the docks. I'd been sleeping in an abandoned warehouse near the water, hidden under tarps and broken crates. The nights were cold. The air reeked of salt and rust, but it was quiet, safe, or so I thought. Just before dawn, the sound of boots woke me. Too many to count. I scrambled to my feet, heart hammering. Shadows moved between the crates, hunters, dozens of them. Their scanners pulsed blue, sweeping the darkness. "Target in Sector 6, a voice crackled. They were closing in fast. Panic clawed at me, but the thread inside my chest pulsed, steady and strong. My body moved before my brain caught up. I sprinted toward the pier, hunters shouting behind me. Bullets tore through wood and metal, sparks flying. My feet slammed the planks, breath ragged, until the path ended. Nothing ahead but dark water. Cornered. The hunters fanned out, rifles raised. "It doesn't belong to you," one barked. "Surrender and you might live." I lifted my hands, trembling, but instead of raising them in surrender, I clenched my fists. The air shifted. Electricity crackled. My veins lit up blue. Energy burst from me, slamming outward in a shockwave that rattled the dock. Hunters flew into the water, weapons shorting out in sparks. Crates exploded. Waves crashed against the pier as if the ocean itself felt my anger. When the light faded, silence remained. The hunters were gone, swallowed by the black water. I stared at my hands, chest heaving. Not with fear this time, but with awe. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was evolving. But power comes with whispers. That night, I dreamed again, not of Earth, but of fire. Of a burning sky filled with ships that weren't human. Of creatures in armor darker than shadow, tearing through cities that glowed silver and blue. Isabella's people. Her world. And through the flames, a single figure emerged. Tall, cloaked, its face hidden by a mask of light. It raised its hand, and the bond in my chest screamed in recognition. I woke gasping, sweat dripping down my face. The dream wasn't random. It was a memory, not mine but Isabella's. The fragment hadn't just changed me, carried her past, her enemies, her fears, and now they were coming here. 2 nights later, I tested the bond again. In the tunnels where the portal had once stood, I pressed my palm against the cold stone and closed my eyes. The thread in my chest flared, stretching outward, across distance I couldn't measure. For a heartbeat, I felt her, faint, fragile, but real. Lucas. Her voice brushed my mind like wind through broken glass. Isabella? I whispered aloud. Are you safe? Silence. Then an image. Not words, but a flash of her face, weary but alive. Her child sleeping beside her. A shattered sky above them. The vision cut out, leaving me trembling. They weren't safe, and whatever destroyed their world was still hunting them, which meant Earth wasn't just my battlefield anymore. It was next. The hunters must have sensed my awakening, because their tactics changed. They stopped chasing me like prey. They started testing me. Ambushes designed to corner me. Drones that scanned from the skies. Weapons that fired not bullets, but beams of energy that made the fragment inside me writhe. They wanted me alive but broken, and each fight left me stronger. I learned to control the surges, to bend the waves of energy into shields that blocked their weapons. I learned to channel the hum in my veins into bursts that threw back attackers without tearing the city apart. But control came at a price. Every time I used the power, I felt less human. The glow lingered longer, the hum louder. My reflection looked more like Isabella's people than my own. And sometimes, when I caught strangers staring at me in the streets, I wondered if they could sense it too. Was I protecting humanity, or drifting away from it? The storm broke on a rain-soaked night downtown. I'd been running across rooftops, trying to shake a pack of hunters, when the air itself screamed. A crack tore across the sky, blue lightning spilling downward. Portal. Not the one Isabella used. This one was jagged, unstable, ripped open by force. And from it, shapes descended. Armored figures, taller than any human, their weapons glowing red. Not hunters. Something worse. The same ones from Isabella's memories. The destroyers of her world. I froze, rain soaking my face, as they landed on the rooftop across from me. Their eyes glowed crimson through masks of bone and steel. And when they saw me, they didn't hesitate. They bowed. Bearer. One growled in a voice like gravel. The fragment belongs to us. My chest burned, the bond inside me twisting violently. They didn't just want me. They needed me. And as thunder rolled across the city, I realized the storm wasn't coming. It was already here. The night the sky cracked open, the city stopped breathing. Lightning burned across the clouds, but it wasn't weather. It was a wound. Tear in reality. Through it came the invaders. Armored giants with crimson eyes, weapons humming with energy I felt in my bones. I'd seen them in Isabella's memories. I knew what they were capable of. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to finish what they started, erase her kind, claim the fragments, and leave nothing but ashes behind. And now I was standing in their way. The first clash came fast. I was on the rooftop, rain soaking through my clothes, when 3 of them leapt from the rift, landing with enough force to shake the concrete beneath my feet. Their armor gleamed black and red, marked with symbols that pulsed like veins. One raised a jagged blade pointing straight at me. Bearer, it snarled. Surrender the core. My chest burned, the bond flaring hot. The fragment inside me didn't want to surrender. It wanted to fight. I don't think so, I muttered. I raised my hands. Energy surged through me, spilling into the air in waves of blue light. The rooftop shook as the first invader charged, swinging its blade. Sparks flew as the weapon clashed against the shield of energy I threw up at the last second. The impact rattled my teeth. This wasn't like fighting hunters. These things weren't afraid. They weren't human. They were predators. And I was prey. I dodged, rolled, fired a pulse that sent one crashing into a billboard. The second tackled me hard enough to crack the rooftop, pinning me down with claws that scraped sparks against the concrete. Panic flared, But then the bond inside me surged, stronger than ever. For a split second, I wasn't just me. I was Isabella, fighting, bleeding, holding her child in her arms as these same monsters burned her world. Her rage became mine. I roared, blasting upward with everything I had. Blue light erupted from my chest, hurling the invader off me and into the sky like a ragdoll. It vanished into the storm with a scream. The last one hesitated. For the first time, I saw something in its crimson eyes. Recognition. "You are not human," it growled. I stood tall, breathing hard, veins glowing brighter than the city lights below. "Not anymore." It attacked, but before it reached me, a beam of energy tore through the rain, slamming it into a water tower. Metal screamed as the creature collapsed, lifeless. I spun. On the opposite rooftop stood the hunters. Dozens of them, rifles raised, armor gleaming under the storm. Their leader lowered his smoking weapon, visor reflecting my glow. "Contain him," he shouted. Just like that, I was caught between monsters and men. The battle spilled through the city. Hunters opened fire, their weapons slicing blue streaks through the rain. I deflected what I could, but their barrage forced me off balance, shoving me closer to the invaders that still poured from the rift. It was chaos, streets shattering under giant footsteps, windows bursting as shockwaves of energy blasted between sides. Humans screamed and fled, sirens wailing in the distance, but no one could stop this war. And me? I was in the middle, neither ally nor enemy, just a spark both sides wanted to snuff out. The hunters shouted orders, their scanners locking on me. The invaders roared, blades raised, their focus fixed only on my chest. I realized then, I wasn't just carrying the fragment. I was the prize. I ran through the carnage, leaping from rooftop to rooftop, but the city itself was turning against me. Drones swarmed overhead, their lights cutting through the rain. Invaders tore through buildings, dragging civilians from cars, demanding the bearer. Hunters cornered intersections, blocking every path of escape. The bond inside me burned hotter, guiding me through the chaos. Every pulse of energy was a message. Don't run. Fight. And then I heard her. Lucas. Her voice was clearer than before, cutting through the storm like a blade. My breath caught. "Isabella? They've found you," she whispered in my mind. "They'll burn your world like they burned mine. You can't let them." "I don't know if I can stop them," I whispered aloud, ducking behind a broken wall as gunfire shattered concrete around me. Her voice trembled but stayed steady. "You can. Because you're not alone. My strength is yours now. My fight is yours." The bond surged, filling me with light so bright it cracked the wall at my back. For the first time, I believed her. I rose into the storm. The hunters fired. The invaders charged. And I unleashed hell. Energy pulsed outward in waves, bending around me like a storm of my own making. Drones shattered midair. Hunters' rifles melted in their hands. Invaders staggered under the force, their armor cracking. I moved faster than I thought possible, a blur of blue light tearing through the battlefield. Every strike wasn't just mine. It was Isabella's rage, her child's innocence, her people's lost voices echoing through me. For every step I took, the city trembled. I wasn't just Lucas the delivery guy anymore. I was Warpath. When the rift above finally began to close, the invaders roared in fury. The leader, the one from my dream, cloaked in light, emerged halfway through, his crimson gaze locking onto mine. "The bearer awakens," he said, his voice booming across the rooftops. "This world will fall as hers did." Then he vanished back into the rift, and the wound in the sky sealed shut. The storm faded, leaving smoke and silence in its wake. Hunters regrouped in the streets, wounded but alive. Civilians peeked from hiding places, their eyes wide with terror. And me? I stood on a rooftop, glowing veins dimming, heart pounding, rain dripping from my chin. The war hadn't ended. It had only just begun. When the rift sealed and the storm faded, the city wasn't silent. It was broken. Cars burned in the streets. Buildings groaned where blasts had torn through their foundations. Sirens wailed from every direction, but the people who lived here, my people, were too stunned to move. They stared up at the sky, as if waiting for it to rip open again. And me? I stood at the edge of a ruined rooftop, chest glowing faintly, breath ragged. My body was shaking, not from fear but from exhaustion. The fragment inside me was quiet now, pulsing faintly like a dying heartbeat. But I knew this wasn't over. The invaders hadn't retreated. They'd regrouped. The cloaked figure hadn't spoken a threat, he'd made a promise. Earth was next, and the hunters, battered and furious, weren't about to let me slip away either. I was out of time. That night I dreamt again. Not of destruction this time. Of Isabella. She stood in a wasteland of ash, holding her child, her silver eyes dim but determined. The bond connected us stronger than ever. No longer faint whispers but a tether of fire and light. "Lucas," she said, her voice trembling through my mind. "They won't stop. Not until every world is gone. But the fragment chose you for a reason." "I didn't ask for this," I whispered. "I was just a guy delivering food." Her gaze softened. "That's why it chose you. Because you didn't seek power. You just wanted to live. And protect." The dream faded, but her final words stayed carved in me. "This isn't just my fight anymore. It's ours." When I woke, the choice was clear. The hunters found me before sunrise. Dozens of armored soldiers surrounded the ruined warehouse where I'd taken shelter. Their leader stepped forward, helmet off now, revealing sharp eyes that had seen too much war. "You've brought monsters into our world," he said coldly. "Give us the core. Maybe then we'll stand a chance." I shook my head. "You can't contain this. It doesn't belong in a cage. It belongs in the fight." He raised his weapon, eyes narrowing. "Then you'll die with it." But before he fired, the sky split open again. The rift returned. And this time, the cloaked figure stepped fully through. He was taller than the others, his armor not jagged but smooth, flowing like living metal. His mask glowed with shifting symbols, crimson light bleeding into the storm. Behind him, an army of invaders poured into the city, their weapons humming with hunger. The hunters froze, their rifles trembling. For once, we shared the same expression. Terror. The figure's voice rumbled through the night. "Bearer, come. Surrender the fragment, and I will grant your world a quick end." I felt the bond burn inside me, Isabella's voice rising in fury. "Don't you dare." I stepped forward, rain dripping from my hair, chest blazing brighter with every heartbeat. "If you want it," I raised my fists, power crackling in the air. "You'll have to take it." And the war began. The city became a battlefield. Invaders crashed through skyscrapers, their roars echoing like thunder. Hunters fought desperately, firing everything they had, their weapons sparking against alien armor. Civilians screamed, fleeing through shattered streets. And me? I was everywhere. I leapt through flames, blasting invaders with shockwaves of blue light. I shielded hunters when their lines broke, not for them, but for the people they were trying to protect. Every pulse of energy carried Isabella's strength, her memories guiding my hands. But the cloaked figure didn't fight with his army. He hunted me. Wherever I struck, he was there, faster than the rest, his blade of pure energy clashing against mine. Every hit rattled my bones. Every swing tore sparks through the sky. "You are nothing without it," he growled. "A human wearing a god's skin." "Maybe," I spat, deflecting a strike that would have cut me in half. "But sometimes, human is enough." I slammed both hands into the ground, sending a wave of blue fire rippling through the street. Invaders flew back, buildings shook, and for a moment, the tide turned. But the figure only laughed. "You fight like her, but you will die like her." And with one strike, he pierced my chest. Pain exploded through me, white-hot and blinding. The fragment screamed, energy tearing through my veins. I fell to my knees, vision fading, rain mixing with blood on my hands. The cloaked figure loomed above me, blade raised for the final strike. The core returns to its master, but then light, not blue, silver. It poured from the bond in my chest, spilling into the air, twisting upward into a shape. The figure. Isabella. Her form shone like fire, her eyes blazing with fury. She stood beside me, her hand gripping mine though her body was only light. Not while I still breathe, she said. The cloaked figure snarled. Ghost! She looked down at me, her touch warm despite the storm. Lucas, you are more than a bearer. You are the bridge. Finish this. Her light surged into me, fusing with the fragment. My veins burned brighter. My heartbeat thundered. I rose, no longer just human, no longer just vessel, something new. A warrior of two worlds. The final battle was a blur of light and shadow. Every strike I landed carried both our strength. Mine and Isabella's, human and alien, united. The figure fought harder, his blade clashing with my fists, but for the first time he stumbled. Hunters watched in stunned silence. Invaders roared and fell. The city itself seemed to tremble under the storm of power. With one last surge, I caught his blade mid-swing, the energy searing my skin. This ends now, I roared, and I unleashed everything. The fragment burned, light pouring outward in a wave that swallowed the street, the invaders, the figure himself. The rift screamed, collapsing inward. The sky tore itself shut with a sound like the world breaking. And then silence. When the light faded, the invaders were gone. The cloaked figure was gone. The rift was gone. Only I remained, kneeling in the ruins, chest still glowing faintly. Hunters surrounded me, weapons lowered, their leader staring in awe. What are you? I looked down at my hands, still trembling, still burning with the bond, and I whispered the truth. I'm the line between worlds. That night, I stood alone on the rooftop, staring at the stars. The bond pulsed faintly inside me, Isabella's presence softer now, but still there. Her voice drifted through, tired but warm. Thank you, Lucas. I smiled, even through the weight of exhaustion. No, thank you. The city was broken. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, I believed we had a chance. Because I wasn't just a delivery guy anymore. I was the guardian of two worlds. And my fight had only just begun.